Jimbo's Garage.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Jimbo's Garage. Today's video, I'll be making a set of commercial double doors for a trash enclosure. Now, these current commercial buildings around here, at least here in Southern California, these doors are common. This is what everybody uses. I've personally never made some. This is going to be a great little project. Let's get started on today's video. Today's video is sponsored by King Metals. They've got all your fabrication needs in one location. From hinges to hardware, balusters to metal decor, brass to aluminum, and a whole lot more. You name it, they've got it. Check them out today at kingmetals.com. Now let's get back to today's video. All right, so I've got a drawing here that I sketched up. I like to do this when I'm building projects with my dimensions on it, so it helps me to do the building. What we have here is the opening size is 88 inches tall. Now this is block wall. This is a block wall on this side over here and this block on this side over here. So the total opening from the top of the wall to the bottom of the ground is 88 inches, and the total width of the opening from block to block is 61.5. So what we got here is we got a 1-inch post on this side, a 1-inch post on this side, and then we've got the hinges, and we're going to be using some 2-inch angle iron, 3/16 wall thickness for the outer frames. The inside is going to have some sort of corrugated material. We've got a latch that's going to be about 30 inches down from the top right here, and also I'm going to have some cane bolts on both sides. Those aren't drawn in, but we're going to put those in as well. So anyways, here's my overall dimensions. So 28 5/8 by 86. So I need 2 of those. So let's get started on today's project. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is get everything cut to dimension with the 2-inch angle iron. Now, I'm over here at my cutoff saw. Cutting angle iron is a little sketchy sometimes. This way is no problem, but when you got to flip it around the other way, this gets a little sketchy, and you got to be careful. Sometimes it likes to bite and shoot that part out the other side. I haven't really found a way to stop that, but anyways, I elected to go this way. There are other ways. You can notch the angle iron and butt the 2 pieces together. That's a form that works well. I've done that, but on this one, this is the way I elected to go. All right, over here at my welding table, I got my table dogs in, and I've got 2 pieces set at a 90-degree angle. And then I've been doing this lately here in the last couple videos, is where I just set everything up as much as I can fit up everything. In this case, the frame completely, and then checking for square. And of course, it is right on the money. Working with the fabrication table and clamps and table logs like this, it helps to get everything perfectly square right out of the chute. So it's fast, it's fairly simple. There's really no mistakes if you got everything square. All right, so I've never done anything like this, so I'm just kind of learning as I go. So the idea was to just weld as much as I can right here, and then this is the outside all the way around. And so far it's going pretty smooth. You know, there's really not much to it. You know, this is going by fairly quick right here. You know, just angle iron welded all the way around. You know, a lot of people here too making this commercial grade gates or trash enclosure gates or whatever they may be. I see a lot of them, and they don't go to this detail here, grinding these welds off. Typically, they just leave everything the way it is. It is commercial grade. I just can't do that. I know it's production, and you know they got to quick and as fast as they can get these things built and get them installed. I understand that, but for me, I just can't do that. I have to have a good, clean job leaving my shop. I just feel better about it. So I grind the welds down, make everything nice and smooth. All right, I'm double checking my dimensions right here. Everything is on dimension. And now it is time for the corrugated material. And I think this is called architectural metal. I think that's what it was called at the metal supply store. I'm not for certain, but it's we're going to call it corrugated metal. It is galvanized, and it is, I want to say, 14 or 16 gauge material. And I'm just drawing in right here. I'm going to have to cut the end off right here. And I've got a new tool. This is a Milwaukee
nibbler, it's called. Now, when I was at KBC Tools, I noticed this down there and thought it was kind of interesting, and I knew I had a project coming up, this project right here, and I thought this would be a good way to maybe cut this. And it was a little bit of a learning curve, but this is the first time I used it, and getting over these ridges and valleys and these ups and downs seemed to work pretty good. I got to the very end right here. It was a folded seam, and that was a bit of a challenge, so I ended up cutting that off and getting my grinder and just kind of cleaning up that last edge right there. But outside of that, it seemed to cut pretty good going up and down those valleys and ridges. Now here's a straight shot. Seeing how this cuts on just a straight shot. Seems to go pretty good. Now you might be able to put a straight edge up or something on this thing and get a perfect straight edge. This is the first time, like I said, I've used this tool. Not bad. It's not a perfect straight line, but good enough for what I'm using. You can see right there, it's a little squiggly, but I'm sure there's ways that you can get a straight edge up and hold it and get a nice straight cut if you need to. But this worked out pretty good. Pretty happy with it. A nibbler. All right, and then here are the chips. Interesting little half moon style chips. This thing punches this thing really super fast and punches out those chips, and that's how that works. All right, a whole bunch of clamps right here. Clamp everything down nice and tight to the bottom of that frame, and then I've got a piece of flat bar stock that I cut out. Interesting with the flat bar stock, if you look closely, yeah, I'm a concrete contractor, and if you guys know anything about that, that's a metal stake. That's this is a Sunday afternoon. I'm putting these together here, and the metal supply store wasn't open, and I needed a piece of 3/8 by 1.5" flat bar. I didn't have it in stock, but I happened to have a couple of 4-foot metal stakes I sacrificed, and that's what that is. The perfect dimension, 3/8 by 1.5" worked great right there. So this is going to come in handy. All right, just some tacks about every 4 or 5 inches all the way down. And these are solid tacks. These are good, I want to say, 1/2 inch wide tacks. You don't want them busting loose, but yet you want them to hold everything in place. And that's looks like that's going to work out really good here. Yeah, I pressed it. It was tight. It was tight right down to the bottom. I didn't even have to clamp this side right here. Everything was fitting really tight. All right, well, there it is, and I'm pretty happy with that. That looks pretty good. So after consideration, I decided to utilize this piece of flat bar stock, and by putting it right here in the center of the gate, because it is a tall gate, and I thought that it would give this a little bit more stability, plus it would help pull, or I should say push, that corrugated metal to the bottom of the frame. And so by these big long clamps, I was able to get in there and kind of pull things up nice and tight, and give it that nice tight fit, and of course add some strength to the gate as well. All right, and that finishes that up right there. All right, pretty happy with that. All right, so here's the posts. These are 1x3, and the reason why I'm going 3 is because I'm mounting these gates to the front side of the block wall. These gates need to swing open 180 degrees, and I wanted to go a little wider with the post to allow the mounting bolts to be a little bit inward on the block. I wanted as much meat as I possibly could without blowing out the front of the block right there, so I elected to go with a little wider post there. And 1 inch wide because I'm trying to maximize the amount of room the opening is going to give me. It's a set of double gates, and it's only 61 inches wide. So we wanted to give it as much opening space as we can, so that's why I elected to go with the 1 inch post rather than 2 inch posts. All right, I'm marking some mounting holes right here in the post. Now these are, I'm going with 4 of them. I've got it over the KBC mill. And I got a hole saw here, and this is an 1 1/8" hole in the top, and it punches out a 3-inch hole in the back, which I opened up to a 1/2 inch because I'm using 1/2 inch bolts. But this is the way I like to mount these things. Is I'm able to mount it through that post, and then I've got a cap that I put on the top there, a rubber cap that kind of seals that off. But I'm using the mill here because I used to freehand these things, and when I freehanded them, I couldn't get that pilot drill to get perfectly straight unless you held it perfectly straight going all the way through, and it was a problem. So with the mill set up perfectly level, it was no problem. So everything has looked real good. All right, these are the hinges. I'm using 3 hinges on this gate. It is a tall gate. It's 86 inches tall, so I'm going with 3. And these are just some heavy duty commercial grade hinges for stuff like this. Really thick material, pretty stout, but they're rugged. You know, I've been used to using weld-on or bullet hinges, are super smooth and elegant and work nice. This is just a rugged stuff for a rugged gate. You know, this is what the industry uses. There's no problems getting those on there. And then the post right here, this is a little tricky sometimes, getting these kind of hinges. The hinges need to be welded to the inside. Luckily, I've got, this requires a 3-inch gap right here. So I've got some 3-inch wood spacers. And I'm able to, those hinges now are closed at a perfect 90 degrees, flush against both sides of the frame and the post. And then I'm just getting them tacked into place right here. You know, I couldn't imagine using smaller hinges or a tighter gap where this would be a difficult chore to get these tacked into place. But once everything is tacked in, then I'm able to slide that down, and you can see now I'm able to get everything welded. And of course, I'm going to go all the way around with a weld. Might be overkill, but you know what? This is commercial. These guys pull, tug, bump. They do everything they can, and they need to be as strong as possible. So these hinges are like 3/16 of an inch thick, and I believe that barrel is definitely a 1/2-inch pin in that barrel. So they're pretty stout hinges. And then up on the very top, of course, we're going to get that. And then once I got that welded in, those 2 hinges here on the outside, they stuck up a little bit high. I was able to get a grinder and grind that down. All right, there's one right there. It's done. And I'm on to the second one. Now, I'm not going to go through every step of this on the second one. You can see I've already cut everything out, and I'm welding everything up. Just kind of wanted to go through the same, it's the same process. And, you know, like I said, this is going fairly quick here. And I had no sense in showing everything, but I think you get the idea. All right, moving ahead. Corrugated metal has already been cut, and I'm back to the welding everything back in here. Same process as before. You can see I've got another piece of flat bar right there from a metal stake. And little bump tacks along the way right here. It seemed to work really good on the first gate, so I'm just repeating that process. You know, galvanized material, you know, people say you got to be careful, and yes, you do. I guess if you're welding galvanized, maybe a respirator, if you're welding a lot of it, it might be something you might want to use. I felt that I didn't really need it in this right here. You can see that, you know, the smoke is kind of blowing out the door. I got fans going. All right, and then that cross support right here in the center, and then the hinge posts and the hinges. All right, and there it is together. They are on the top of my welding table. They are spaced apart right where they need to be. This is the latch. The latch is, the customer wanted it 30 inches from the top. He wanted a slide bolt latch, locking assembly. I was able to find that at my welding supply store. Somewhat heavy duty, you know, 3/4 inch bolt there. And then this is just a mounting bracket that I came up with to mount it. You know, I wasn't certain how I was going to do it, but this is how it goes on, something just like this. You know, whoever makes these hinges or wherever they come from, they probably come from overseas, but they didn't put a lot of effort into making these things solid by any means. They just couple tack welds that hold these pieces together. I had to get in there and modify the welds and add a little bit to each and every one of them, make them a little bit stronger anyway. Might be able to make your own a little bit stronger. And that piece of pipe on a flat plate right here completes the latch, and that's how that's going to work, just like that. All right, we're on to the cane bolts. And we've got some black pipe right here. And I've done my measurements, and I know exactly how long it needs to be and how long the canes need to be. They need to be a little extra long because it is up off the ground slightly from the blacktop, so I had to extend them down a little bit farther. And this is a piece of 2-inch by 1/2-inch flat bar. That's going to be the stop. You'll see that a little bit later on. I got my rosebud torch right here. We're heating things up, and we're just going to bend this over to create the handle. And it's about 4.5 inches. That's about all you need. Just something to get a couple fingers on to lift that up. Just going to clean things up a little bit. And the same with the pipe. A little deburring action. Don't want anybody to get cut, or you don't want anything to hang up. And this is just a piece of 3/16 by 2-inch flat bar, and this is what I'm using to create the, I don't want to, what do you call this, where you're going to latch the cane bolt in the up position, I should say. So here's the components for all that, and now it's just time to get everything installed. Fairly simple. Starting with the black pipe. Black pipe goes flush to the bottom of the gate and to the center of the gate frame, and the same with the other side. And you can see I'm just tacking these in place for now. I'll come back and catch the welding on this a little bit later. And the cane bolts go down inside. Everything works nice and smooth. I like it. And then here's the latch at the top that's going to hold it in the open position. And I'm just going to tack that in place. And then this is the stop. The idea of the stop is obviously for theft. We don't want anybody to walk off with the cane bolts. You know, people do stuff like that. You may not need it at your house, but when you're out in public like this, you got to keep it as foolproof as possible here. All right, just double checking everything, and all right, I'm happy with the way everything works. So now it's just time to get everything welded completely around. You know, it's a pretty simple little mechanism there. That's all you really need. Again, it kind of fits the description, a commercial grade, simple, nothing too complicated, maybe not that attractive, but it's going to serve its purpose. All right, just finishing things up right here by a couple of welds that may be 1 inch long, about 4 or 5 inches apart from each other, and that's just to hold the pipe in place. This isn't going to go anywhere. You know, this is a fairly simple project. I was pretty impressed. It turned out pretty good. I did it in a Sunday afternoon. It worked out really good. And, the customer wanted a primer finish. That was part of my contract, was just to give them a primer finish, and they were going to have it painted by someone else. And so that's what I did. I took care of the finished welding here and got everything cleaned up. And then gave it a primer finish. That's what it looks like. And then this is a picture of it installed. It worked out perfectly. The customer was really happy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you next time on Jimbo's Garage.